This question now is for Mr. DeRiggs. Mr. DeRiggs, Minister Burke mentioned that you guys left thinking that you were going to South Korea. I just want to make sure that that's what is read. That's really what he said. That's what I understood from what he said. But when you guys left here, you left, went to South Korea, and then went over to Taiwan, or you left and you went straight to Taiwan from here?
I'm sorry. Before you answer, please. I hope, it seems as though on that particular point I'm having a problem communicating. I want to repeat. I do not believe, I did not say, I did not intend to say that the gentlemen left here thinking they were going to South Korea. I made the point clear further that it is unreasonable for me to say something like that because the only way in which that was going to happen is if somebody was hijacked. Aristide was picked up. He didn't know where he was going, and he ended up in South Africa. Yes? If somebody buys a plane ticket to go to Taiwan, they would not end up in South Korea unless the plane is hijacked, because they have to present a ticket at the time that they go in order to get onto the plane. So I did not intend to suggest, I have never suggested that these gentlemen left here. I thought I went at pains to make that clear. I did not intend to say, and I did not say, that these gentlemen left here intending to go to South Korea. I said, before they left, we requested that the meeting take place in South Korea. They said no. So when the guys left here, they knew they were going to Taiwan.
So the
before they left for Taiwan, we checked with our foreign ministry to see whether or not there would be any serious complications. So we knew that they were going to Taiwan. That was not in doubt at any stage.
Okay.
Well, I haven't heard the minister respond to the point. I don't know if there's any need for me to say anything. We were clear what our destination would be, and we were clear that we were going to engage in discussions with private sector entities, Korean and Taiwanese companies. So it was an engagement around business, and it was not an engagement at governmental level between the government of Grenada and the government of Taiwan. So this is the context, and we were informed that it is customary. In fact, there are many businessmen in Grenada who travel habitually to Taiwan to meet with potential suppliers of goods and so on. So there is a business nexus that we were exploring, and so it was not an engagement at the political level.
I'm sorry I lost the line, but straight up before you go, can you just briefly tell us about the meeting? Generally, what came out of that meeting, seeing that you were one of the persons who were there?
Well, okay. We essentially discussed 9 projects, and I can give you an indication of what they were, right? The rebuilding and refurbishing of the athletic stadium, the refurbishing and expansion of Lauriston Airport in Carriacou, the building of Simoon Cultural Center, the refurbishing of schools, including MacDonald College and Woburn Methodist, the Grenada Broadband Project and Center for ICT Excellence. We also spoke about the possibility of the strategic injection of capital in private sector projects that had stalled for lack of capital. So we're looking at Grand Beach, the Liver Hotel, and the St. Mark's Poultry Project. There are also discussions about new technological approaches to food production. So that would be cooperation in the field of agriculture. We laid these 9 projects on the table, and they were projects that were articulated within the context of the 5 transformative sectors that the minister had identified in his budget presentation. The folks that we spoke with expressed a willingness to finance these projects. The understanding, however, was that whenever, if and when an agreement is signed, then we would submit back to Taiwan the fully developed project documents for the 9 areas within a 2-month period, possibly, after an agreement is signed. And subsequently, they would return, they would get back to us with a technical mission, coming to Grenada to have specific evaluations of each of the 9 projects, and thereafter possibly signing of specific agreements around each of the 9 projects. So that was the context within which we engaged. And as has been pointed out by the minister, at the end of this engagement, we signed an aid memoir, which is basically a summary of what was discussed in the meeting.
Good morning. Minister Burke, you said your initial, government's initial reaction was not one of suspicion. At what point did government become suspicious?
There are different things that cause some red flags, you might say. I would say that my first moment, I can't speak for the mind of the government, but my first query arose when the team insisted that we should come to Taiwan for the meeting. Yes, because I felt if it was a South Korean company, then we can meet in South Korea. If it's not convenient to meet in South Korea, then let's meet in London. Yeah? So when the company insisted that we should have this meeting in Taiwan, I became a little bit concerned about it.
Oh, you also mentioned that you said, okay, well, if let me confirm that the company paid for the trip and government spent no money in sending the 2 government delegations. You have an idea how much it cost them?
No, I wouldn't know that.
So they just received the ticket?
Yes.
Okay. You also said that you said, okay, the decision that where they want to go, you decide to go to Taiwan. So let us go and see who they are, where they're going to stay. Mr. Dirks, can you tell us which hotel you stayed at, the level of the hotel? Because all that is part of what you're observing, to see the quality of persons that you're associating yourself with.
Well, I think it was called Sunrise Dynasty Hotel, I think. It seemed to be a fairly good hotel. I mean, I couldn't rate it, I couldn't give it a star rating. So it was, I mean, a pleasant stay in Taipei. To be honest, you know, I didn't spend much time observing the conditions of the hotel. I was more concerned about achieving results. And indeed, if you travel from Grenada to Taipei or to Beijing or any such location, you'd find that without overnighting, you'd find that you're suffering from extreme jet lag because we flew for about 20-something hours with very little, very little break in between. And so we had to be involved in negotiations in the day, which is Taiwanese day, is the night in Grenada. And so we're having discussions in the day, and then we're up at night in the phone trying to communicate with home and exchange information. So it was a very stressful experience, and so I didn't have time to really, and I'm sure my colleague Vince Roberts didn't have time to do an assessment as to the rating of the hotel. We were anxious to get in, do what we had to do, and come back to Grenada.
How long you stayed there?
About 6 days, I think. Yeah.
The document that you came back with that they were insisting that government sign, what was some of the concern in that document that you decided that Grenada had to create an alternate document? What were some of the concerns?
I'm sorry?
You said the document that was came back, the document they were insisting that you signed, and you decided that we're not going to sign it. You decided now to create an alternate document for them to approve. What were some of the concerns that what were they asking for that you had serious concerns about? Well, that you decided we're not going to sign on to this as is?
It's not even so much what they were asking for, but the question is, were the safeguards that the state is looking for? As I said earlier on, you want to sign deals, but you want to be able, if a deal fails, to come out of the deal with the upper hand. So in looking at a deal, you want to ensure that it contains provisions that will protect you. For example, if I'm going to sign a deal with a company to give them some land to build a hotel, okay, I may want to do that. We may agree on price or we may not agree on price. We'll argue about price. But I want a provision in there saying, I'm giving you 2 years to build a hotel or to start building the hotel. If you don't build a hotel, if you don't start in 2 years, government reserves the right to take back the land. So these are the kinds of safeguards that you would want so that the government comes out with the upper hand from the deal if the deal fails.